Hey, it's Kyle here, and today I'll be reviewing How to Be Perfect by Michael Schur. I guess officially the full title is How to Be Perfect, the correct answer to every moral question. If you're not familiar with Michael Schur, he is one of the top comedy minds out there in television. He's probably best known for being the creator of The Good Place. He was also heavily involved in Parks and Rec and The Office. So, the mind behind a lot of the greatest comedic moments on television in the past, 20 years or so. But this book specifically was inspired by his work with The Good Place. So if you haven't watched The Good Place, watch it. It's one of the best TV shows ever. But it basically explores a lot of philosophical, moral questions. And the idea of every action that a person takes, even if it seems like it's a good action, you can actually parse it down into having negative aspects of it. So basically the idea is what does it take to actually be a moral person? So a good example from the show would be something like, just eating a hamburger might be a morally negative action because of how the cow was treated when it was being raised on a farm, and how it was humanely slaughtered for meat and stuff like that. But then well, what about being a vegetarian? Well, what if the farm that you're eating your vegetables from used too much fertilizer and polluted nearby water sources, and that type of stuff. So when Michael Schur was kind of creating this show, he did a lot of philosophical research, actually worked with philosophers, and that kind of inspired this book in some ways. He even talks about one of the actions that kind of really got him to think about writing this book was there was a coffee shop he would go to every day, and he always made sure that the barista was looking when he put money in the tip jar. And he got to thinking, why am I doing that? It's like I want them to see me giving them a tip. It's not enough that I give them a tip. I want them to see me to do that. So does that, that almost action of wanting to be recognized, does that cancel out the good of actually giving the tip? And that kind of is kind of the thought experiment that drives this book. So it's kind of a book that combines looking at philosophy and examining how we live our lives, but also with a very comedic, humorous vantage point. So if you enjoyed The Good Place, I think you'll love this show, because in reality it's the same sense of humor and the same sense of deep thought and kind of examining life in different ways that inspired the show is really the same thing behind this book. If you haven't seen the show but you're into philosophy, I think you'll really love this book. He interviews a lot of philosophers throughout the book. He's examining these huge schools of philosophy, thought throughout it. So it'd be that, for example, I had to take a few philosophy classes in college because of my major being political science. So I took a class on ancient political philosophy, which was a very hard class, but a very enjoyable class. And a lot of the thoughts and subjects explored in that class are some of the early chapters in this book. So this is not a normal type of book I read. I really don't read a whole lot of comedic nonfiction books. I know a lot of people do their favorite comedians or comedic actors when they'll write a biography or just their observations on life. That's the types of books they like to read. I usually don't gravitate that way, but I enjoyed The Good Place so much, and also probably because of my collegiate background and my studies, I do kind of enjoy philosophy a little bit. So I thought this sounds like a very interesting book, and I'm really glad I did. It was very funny, very interesting, and very thought-provoking. So I would definitely highly recommend this book. Again, if you enjoyed The Good Place, definitely read this. If you like philosophy, read this. If you're just looking at kind of, a unique examination of what it takes to be a good person, what it means to be a good person, check this book out. So again, How to Be Perfect by Michael Schur, the creator of The Good Place. I highly recommend this book. My question to viewers is kind of inspired by this is, if there's a creator or actor from one of your favorite TV shows that you would love to read a book by, who would that be and why? Let me know in the comment section below. If you read this book, let me know in the comment section below what you thought. Hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, please hit the like button. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching as always. I'll see you next time, and happy reading.